It's interesting because what she said about him creating the trust prior to his death is really great. um, the unique thing about LaFave's story is LaFave passed away not really knowing that he was going to be famous. His song "Goodnight Irene" became #1 the year after he died through the Weavers. So there was no planning. There was no, hey, there's going to be this great legacy to leave my family, so let me think ahead. It's why when we talk about this, it's so important for everybody to look at it that way. Whether you think you're going to go off to win Grammys and Oscars and things of that, you still need to be planning. We had the benefit of my grandmother who lived with LaFave, and then his wife, Martha, upon his passing later moved in with her, is that they did save everything. Again, still not knowing the magnitude of his impact in the music industry, but they saved everything. So we do have a nice archive of letters, of contracts, of things, you know, that belong to him. But I will say this, my grandmother managed this solo as the only person in the family who then took over well into her 80s, which by the time she started to get sick and me, my sister, my brother started to step in to try to manage things, we didn't have the same historical context for a lot of things that would have been nice to have, to know where things were, when things happened, who was she talking to, who was he talking to. All of those things we didn't have. So for me, the last several years have been a learning process of trying to, okay, where are things at? Who's supposed to be paying us? You know, my brother collected everything, and so we at least have like all the items, you know, three-dimensional items kind of all in one location. But what I've learned is from being at these conferences and talking to people like this, well, I should have an inventory of you know, the items. I should have an inventory of songs. What information do I need for that spreadsheet? I mean, I've learned that literally in the last few days, a spreadsheet that has the name, the creation date, when and where, the copyright date, who are the writers, who the publisher, that data. And again, even if you think this is not for like, you're gonna become this big celebrity, if nothing else, it's for your family. It's just whether it's information to pass down to your children, but also so that when they step into this role, they can do your legacy justice. And I think that that's the big thing for me, is I feel like I could do his legacy a lot more if I knew more. So really consider that and be intentional about the things that you do when you're looking at, you know, hey, I just wrote this song. Anna, Woody Guthrie's granddaughter, I listened to her do a lecture yesterday, and one of the great things that Woody Guthrie did, and again, during his time not knowing where his legacy would be, he would write out lyrics, and at the bottom, it would say, you know, Beverly Hills Hotel, October the 5th, 1952, who was there? I mean, like it kind of was the metadata, in a sense, written on, so they were able to have great context for why he wrote, what he wrote, when he wrote it, what was going on during that time frame. So those are all things to consider when doing it, that when you're writing, you're right.
Absolutely, and I think it's a great point, because part of what we see there as well is whether someone that is a new artist, for example, this week we've talked to some folks that are generating brand new music, and making sure that the metadata is correct, that this estate front of mind for you as you try to manage the estate going forward.
Like for us, and again, we had this conversation of those who are left behind to manage your affairs, you know, one, making sure who is going to do that, and do they value your work the way you valued it. So that's how we start talking about Prince. He didn't want certain things during his lifetime, but after death, all of a sudden, everything is being monetized. And so it's important to create that, what you want it to be, because for me, I don't have the ability to know what LaFave wanted. I don't know the context of exactly how he lived his life and what are the things he liked and don't. I mean, I know a little bit that's been passed down. When my grandmother took over, I did have the ability to know a little bit from her, certain things that she said, absolutely not. We will not do that. We will not, she didn't want it used in a certain context. During Lead Belly's lifetime, he was kind of sensationalized for his prison term and how he was displayed sometimes in articles or how they wanted him to dress at performances, but that wasn't who he was. He was a man who always had on a three-piece suit, sitting in the house, playing with his friends. He was always dressed that way, so that image was important. So that was one thing that my grandmother passed on to us is make sure that you uphold to that. Regardless of how great the deal is, you know, you don't want that. So when it comes to gaming, it comes to commercials or things like that, we do look at and try to say, is that going to serve his brand? Is that going to serve his legacy the way we want it to? So it's nice to have guidance given to you, but then again, if you're not able to do that, at least there's somebody who can put forth the effort to protect your brand and your legacy.
I think it's a great observation as well. In regards to the brand and the legacy, what does that individual stand for? And I think, you know, even this week had a couple conversations with folks who say, how am I going to pay this forward? What is going to be my imprint? So they may be saying, hey, I love Folk Alliance. This is an opportunity to say, how do I sustain this? This has been something that's been a part of my life for decades. I would love for future generations to be able to see this this beautiful sort of smorgasbord of all this different type of music, different genres, all in one place. How do we perpetuate that? But I think
document. Like she said, my grandmother was a wealth of information. She lived during that time. She lived countless hours with Lead Belly and Woody Guthrie, Grandniece Terika Dean, all these people just coming through the house and singing, and those stories died with her. Some didn't. Some we know. Some we heard. We're able to regurgitate. I wish, though, that during her lifetime, before her health began to fail, that we would have had more recordings. And again, if it's not even for public content, it's for us. It's for my children's children to know who Lead Belly was, to know the context of the time that he lived in and the people he hung out with. So a simple recording is very helpful to just say, hey, this is, you know, these are stories, or the beauty of today's time with the internet is so much is online. So all these artists, because they're trying to build their brand, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, all these, and so they are telling and blogging their story. So that's great, because what they say, whatever happens on the internet stays on the internet. So at least you are able to have some sort of record of where they were when certain things happened and what they did. But for those who aren't as computer savvy, it's about, you know, taking those and even all the pictures and the videos and the pictures with other artists, but be intentional about archiving it and not it just sit 10,000 photographs on your phone. So.
Absolutely.
I was fortunate to just be such a trade weasel, reading all the billboards back in the day and R&R and that kind of thing. And I guess earlier this century, I read video was going to be the next big thing. And I pushed David Olney to start doing a weekly video series. And at the time we started on Ustream, which was live, and people could do Q&A with him on there. And initially he had started out with a 30-minute program where he did 3 songs, told the stories behind them, and then had some kind of sketch comedy or whatever else was on his mind. And after a few of those, we pared it down and got it into a rhythm where it was less than 10 minutes. He did 1 song, told the story behind it, talked about his upcoming tour dates, and it was just him on a platform to send out to his fans.
Person who managed everything regarding Lead Belly, she created upon her passing a UD Ledbetter Family Trust. And it was also so that everything could be kept together versus going here, here, here. One of the things that I've heard people over the years talk about when the disaster happens is somebody's legacy gets divided 4 ways. Then after that, it gets divided another, you know, each person has 2, 3 kids. And now, just even from the perspective of licensing, people don't, it's gotta happen quick. It has to happen quick. They want an answer. They don't wanna go to 10 different people to get the 1/8, you know, 1/10 permission, and then the 3
You
say
need a
no.
quarterback.
Or
You need a quarterback.
right.
Yeah.
So, that was nice, that she did it so that it will all stay together, as one unit versus pieces out, so.
Especially as you talked about even looking ahead towards your kids and saying, you know, this may be, you know, is this now 3rd, 4th generation type
Right.
of legacy, and saying this can go on for quite some time and it's worth preserving. Well, I know we've got a few questions as well.